It's a rematch of an epic Western Conference semifinal series from last year. It's Real Salt Lake and the Seattle Sounders preseason action from Tucson, Arizona, coming up next on MLSsoccer.com. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Wherever you're watching, Jonathan Yardley and Greg Lawless with you. And Greg, this has got to be considered one of the marquee matchups of the tournament. These teams had that epic semifinal series last year. Mario Martinez's goal won it for Seattle after the great goalkeeping and the very tense scoreless 2 games until the late goal. Where are these teams at as they enter preseason squaring off again?
Well, I think that both of these teams are actually, because this tournament is happening a little bit closer to the start of the season, they're ramping up getting their first team, their starters, more time a little bit earlier in or closer at this point. So it's nice to see both teams going out with very, very strong lineups today.
Real Salt Lake and Seattle. This is the second day of 3 group games in the tournament. On Wednesday night, Real Salt Lake took on the New York Red Bulls. And Real Salt Lake on Wednesday night jumping on New York early. Just 20 seconds in, Joao Plata opening the scoring.
Yeah, it was a good little ball through that actually caused some problems. Connor Lade unable to actually get it back to his goalkeeper. It was Joao Plata beating the goalkeeper to the ball to slot it home, showing a little bit of that energy, that excitement in particular that I think he's going to bring. And then Joao Plata also involved in the second goal, which came just a couple of minutes later. He gets slipped through, and it's a shot to the far post, saved, and Cole Grossman there to mop it up. And right away, the talking point for Real Salt Lake was Joao Plata, and it's been that way for the last 3 days. We talked to the club about him, we talked to the coach, and he's very excited to have him in, and he's in the starting lineup tonight.
The game finished in a 2-2 tie as New York came from behind. Tonight's starting lineup for Real Salt Lake, and we do expect to see their traditional 4-4-2 with the diamond. Nick Raimondo back to start in goal. Beltran, Schuler, Watson, Cirbo, and Mansali at the back. Kyle Beckerman holding. Jordani Alvarez and Sebastian Velasquez will be in the diamond. Ned Grabavoy at the top of it. And up front for Real Salt Lake, as you mentioned, joining Saverio is Joao Plata. So a little bit of a different look, but a strong squad.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect normally that Robbie Finley would be the starter up there alongside Saverio. But if Plata plays the way I think we've seen him, and Jason Kreis, the head coach, told us yesterday that what he likes about Plata is that he was one of the only players on Toronto they were ever afraid of whenever they would play. And they'd say, if he's in the lineup, that's a problem. So he likes him. Could Plata actually unseat Finley if he plays very well throughout this preseason?
We turn to the Seattle starting lineup, and also a 4-4-2 for the Sounders. They're 1-0 in the tournament. Michael Sperning starts in goal. The back four, Adam Johansson. Zach Scott steps in with Jimmy Traore banged up. John Kennedy Hurtado alongside him in central defense. Leo Gonzalez at left back. In the midfield, same starters. Rosales on the right, Alonso and Evans in the middle, Zakawani on the left. Up front, Eddie Johnson and David Estrada. This is the squad pretty much that we're going to see come the start of the season, and they've got another chance to perform today.
Yeah, and this is a very full-strength squad that they're putting out there, almost full strength, I would say. Maybe Traore or whoever else comes in. When Patrick Ayani is healthy, I think he slots into that back line as well. So maybe Zach Scott's the one guy, but I think we were watching them in training yesterday. They were working a lot on the crosses into the box and the runs by the forwards. Estrada and Eddie Johnson, those are the 2 guys. Let's watch their runs today to see if their timing is correct.
We expect Seattle to mix up its lineup in the second half, maybe a little more than Real Salt Lake. We'll see some names we haven't seen. Expect to see Eric Zavaleta, one of the guys I'm excited to see at center back in the second half, is what we were told. We'll see how it plays out. We'll pause here for our national anthem. Real Salt Lake and the Seattle Sounders set to square off. Kickoff coming up shortly, but first, the national anthem. Our national anthem here at Keno Veterans Memorial Stadium, Tucson, Arizona. Second game of 3 group games in this Desert Diamond Cup, and there will be a playoff for third place and a playoff for the title a week from today. But we got started on Wednesday night, and in the opening game, Seattle was taking on New England. And after a handball, Brad Evans got a chance to put Seattle in front in the first half.
Yeah, a clear penalty actually on a free kick from Mauro Rosales that deflected off of a handball, and Evans, the I would say designated penalty kick taker at this point for Seattle. But it was the second goal that everyone was talking about. Eddie Johnson getting the ball wide, taking his defender one-on-one. That's Jose Gonzalez in there, and it's a beautiful move to the inside, curling it into the far post. That is a world-class goal. I'm sure Jurgen Klinsmann was somewhere watching and saying, that's what we need from Eddie Johnson as much as possible.
Oh, is Jurgen watching our streams?
Oh, he is. Never underestimate what Jurgen Klinsmann is doing and where his eyes are. He's seeing everything that's happening.
Real Salt Lake and Seattle getting set to duel here. Of course, we'll have New England and New York in the second game. There's games all over the country in Major League Soccer today. We'll try to keep you updated on preseason scores. Already 2 games in the books from Orlando. They're underway in Charleston. Portland tournament doesn't kick off till tomorrow, but there was also MLS action in Las Vegas last night with Chivas USA taking on the Colorado Rapids.
My goats. Coming up
your
big.
goats?
Oh, yeah.
They are.
I'm a proud fan of Chivas USA. I know that technically you're not supposed to pick a team and be a fan of as a journalist and all that, but here, I am a fan of Chivas USA. A 3-0 victory over Colorado, and from all accounts, from what I've heard from some people that were there was a very large contingent of Chivas USA fans making a lot of noise at Sam Boyd Stadium.
I would not consider myself a fan, but I am excited to watch Chivas USA far more than I have ever been before. They're one of the teams I'm looking forward to watching.
I hear that from a lot of people, actually. Ever since
it's been the best offseason of any team.
Arrived and just started saying exactly what's on his mind, and everyone said, I want to watch this team, and people are still kind of mocking it. And there's now a little bit of a drumbeat out there that the Chivas USA, come out there and just destroy everybody, and then lose in the first round of playoffs, of course. But that's a different point altogether. So.
Well, we'll keep you updated on the world of Major League Soccer. Glad you could join us today. Jonathan Yardley and Greg Lawless with you in warm sunshine. The evening will cool as the night goes on. Very windy conditions here as well. But good field conditions and a comfortable afternoon certainly for these two teams.
It's not all that windy. Come on. I'm looking at the corner flags. I don't see any wind really in those corner flags.
Just you wait.
Okay. It might go
we did have to tape down all these notes. Eddie Johnson and Mauro Rosales set to kick off for Seattle. Second game of the tournament for both of these teams against Seattle 1-0, Real Salt Lake 0-1. Kickoff, and we are underway from Tucson, Seattle in rave green, going left to right across your picture. And Real Salt Lake, of course, claret and cobalt going right to left.
A little bit of the set play off the kickoff. I've never actually been a fan of it, but it's the whole, one across, drop it back, and then slam it down the line. It's almost like a rugby play where you're just trying to pick up some ground in a way, but it also allows your team to set up its positioning and get you spacing. Neat
touch by Sabarillo there to get it to Yordani Alvarez, who is on the left side of the diamond. We weren't sure which side he'd be on. Greg actually had it right. Sebastian Velasquez over on the right-hand side. But
so it's not really a we weren't sure. It was I think I guessed.
You weren't sure either.
I did kind of guess.
You were right, but you weren't 100% convinced you'd be right.
That's true.
Osvaldo Alonso allowed to play in this game. They did suspend Mark Birch and Saini Nyasi, who were red carded, but they did not suspend Clyde Sims and Osvaldo Alonso, who had the forced substitution in the first half of Wednesday's games. We'll see if today's games get chippy at all, just like we did in the Seattle-New England game. A reminder, you can hit us up on Twitter, ask us questions, send us some comments at JT Yardley, the address. As the offside flag goes up, we'll play through it. The referee is Alan Chapman this afternoon. The linesmen Paul Scott and Adam Gardner. The fourth official Ricardo Salazar. Just underway here. Kenny Mansali at left back for Real Salt Lake. Ahead to Alvarez. Knocked out. Alvarez came to the league as a defensive midfielder, and he sees a bit of a different role in the diamond today.
Yeah, he's out on the left, and I think that basically Real Salt Lake are trying to figure out can he play a position other than sort of sitting behind Beckerman and just filling in space as a second defensive midfielder.
Sabarillo's pass was deflected. Still got to Grabavoy, but Platz's pass then was behind him, and Seattle with it at the moment. Johansson loses it out of bounds, and Real Salt Lake with the throw in the attacking half.
A little disjointed here in the early going. I mean, we're only a couple of minutes in, but both teams actually looking at each other, wondering why they're not linking up the way they would like to.
Beckerman feeds Saborio, gets it back from him, and goes out wide on the right-hand side to Beltran. One-on-one against Gonzalez, pulls it back. And Beckerman's through ball off the mark and runs out for a goal kick.
And he's looking for Plata to make that curling run. Now, Plata, of course, a new player this year for Real Salt Lake, so maybe he's not quite understanding a move like that where Beckerman is looking for the one-time ball to curl into that space and expecting Plata to make the curl around the defender.
Can they just work on that in training, or is it just a matter of you need the game reps to figure that out?
No, you need the reps in training as well. So it's not just, I mean, what you're doing in training, of course, every coach loves to say that. You play the way you practice. So if they continue to do that, it becomes almost a muscle memory to understand when that ball comes across, say, to Beckerman, it's a quick one-time ball that will curl into Plata.
David Estrada was towing the offside line there, and the flag was up, but again, Alan Chapman electing to play through it, and with Nick Raimondo on it at the back for Real Salt Lake. Nick Raimondo sitting on 99 career MLS shutouts, second in league history behind Kevin Hartman, who still without a club at the moment.
Without a club, but just about every single goalkeeping record in MLS history right now.
Johansson ahead to Rosales, tried to touch through for Evans. Beckerman broke it up briefly, but Seattle's still with it. Johansson's cross blocked, or ball down the line blocked by Alvarez. Zach Scott back to Michael Sperning, who does have a green card. I missed out on that the other night as this one's played through, and Raimondo waits for it ahead of the hustling David Estrada.
I always love those moments when that ball skips in, the goalkeeper's just waiting for it, and you're kind of watching just to see who's going to. It's almost like that game of chicken. You remember Footloose when they played chicken with the two tractors? It's a little bit like that. You've got the one guy standing there and the other tractor's coming the other way. Is that before your time? That might be before your time.
That's a new one on me.
No,
I'm going to go.
Chicken with the tractors and Footloose?
Yeah.
Maybe an odd reference, I guess.
We are all about odd references. 5th minute, no score from Tucson. Speaking of, Stephen McCarthy's father from New England did respond on Twitter after
being mentioned as a pilot?
As a pilot.
Flying you home, on, as you said, and very quietly, on a jet, making it sound like it was a private jet and you're flying home. Amazing.
I had no such intention. Mansali at left back. Schuler and Watson-Sirbo in the middle of that Real Salt Lake defense. And talking to Real Salt Lake players this week, we talked to Nat Borchers, who of course is still a couple of weeks away from getting back to training, but they really praised the communication of those two at the back. Watson, Sirbo, and Schuler said they're always talking, and for a young center back, that's a big check mark.
Yeah, and Schuler actually told me yesterday that he has been told by Jason Kreis he must be the voice.
Zach Scott absolutely cleaned out Ned Grabavoy from behind with a high arm in the center circle. And Grabavoy down, they're already waving on the training staff. That was after Beckerman and Alonso had tangled in the physical matchup you would expect. And Zach Scott ran as far away from Alan Chapman as he could, but he might get a talking to here.
Well, Grabavoy's up. That's not really Grabavoy's game, of course, playing with his back to goal on a high ball where he has to go up and try and control that or try and win a header. Grabavoy would love the ball at his foot where he can try and maybe turn or combine with someone.
So he's walking off, but under his own power, and in the end, not a whole lot for Scott. Real Salt Lake restarts it with Grabavoy still on the field, and so they'll have to restart again. Not the same reaction from the Salt Lake bench that we saw from the New England bench for admittedly a more physical play on Wednesday night. Here's Velasquez, rough early touch. Beckerman really fired it into him. Then Beckerman got hard into the tackle with David Estrada, and the challenge goes the other way. Free kick Seattle. So we talked about disjointed as Ned Grabavoy returns to the field, and it certainly has been early.
Well, it's also, I mean, last thing we want to see is that it gets chippy. I mean, that's not what I would like to see, at least. I don't want to see these teams start to kick each other and start to a little payback here, retaliation there. I mean, we saw it in the New England game last on Wednesday, and it ends up not making for great soccer, obviously.
Rough back pass by John Kennedy Hurtado. Michael Sperning dealt with it with Alvaro Saborio on him. Well done by Sperning. And if anything, these two teams have more scores to settle, given that they've ended each other's seasons the last couple of years. Nothing dirty so far yet, just hard. Velasquez's pass ran through, and
interesting idea from Velasquez, actually trying to play it to Grabavoy on the overlap, expecting Saborio to let it go, but a little too much juice on the pass. I haven't seen much right now in the way of getting forward from Seattle, but saying that, Salt Lake are giving it to Estrada every time he's got his back to goal and he goes to the ball. There's a defender right up at his back, giving a little bit of lumber.
He and Kyle Beckerman exchanging a handshake there, away from the ball as Seattle prepares to take the restart. 8 minutes in, no score. We've certainly had more fouls than scoring opportunities in the early going. Estrada once again towing that offside line as Seattle restarts short to Leo Gonzalez on the left. Knocked away by Watson Cirbo at the back. So we talked about the players with red cards suspended. That means no Mark Birch today for Seattle, so we'll see how long Gonzalez goes. There's a chance for Estrada, who whiffed spectacularly on it.
Visions of grandeur. He was thinking upper 90 with a volley or a half volley as it came down. And
can't score if you don't shoot.
That's true. You also can't score if you don't actually
hit
the ball.
Make contact with the ball. Here's Scott. We see him a lot at right back, getting a call at center back here, and he is an option there with Patrick Ianni injured for Seattle. Long ball by Johansson, looking for Eddie Johnson, headed away by Watson Cirbo.
We saw that a lot the other day against New England as well. That ball out of the back over the top, looking for Eddie Johnson.
It did work on the goal.
It worked on the one goal because it was a counterattack. It wasn't set up. It wasn't like a half-field attack or a half-court offense in basketball, you would say. It was a quick counterattack, and that's why it worked. That ball right there from Johansson, that's not a quick one.
It's too static.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the defense is set up for that, especially Schuler. He's got the height to handle anybody in the league, as does Watson Cirbo.
Early ball out to Beltran. Look at Estrada close the ground quickly. That's a forward going all the way to left back to cover Beltran moving forward. Saborio tries to feed Velasquez. It falls to Plata. Saborio returns the favor. Joao Plata in the box. Slide tackle by Gonzalez. Got the ball. And Seattle will try to go the other way. It's blocked out for a goal kick. Good tackle by Gonzalez.
Yeah, well timed and a quick little move from Plata, but not quick enough. He's got a great quick first step as you see him going by, but Gonzalez getting the ball on the tackle. Here's the first step. He right there, referee getting in the way. And then there's the tackle. He gets the ball, doesn't swing through with the back leg. So to me, that's not a foul. Good call by the referee, non-call by the referee.
Eddie Johnson comes back trying to win the ball off the goal kick, and Watson Cirbo almost gave it away, but it will be a Salt Lake throw-in on the far sideline. 11th minute, no score. Keno Veterans Memorial Stadium in Tucson, second year of the Desert Diamond Cup. Gonzalez clears this one away. Grabavoy tried to win it, but falls to the Sounders at the back. Johansson, that long ball again. Nobody making the run that time. And Salt Lake found Alvarez on the left. So far, Alvarez and Velasquez have not been that involved. We've seen Velasquez get a couple of more touches in the last few minutes. There's a bad pass by Grabavoy, picked off by Eddie Johnson. And then Osvaldo Alonso not on the same page with Zakawani. Real Salt Lake won it.
Still a little
choppy.
Disjointed. In the midfield especially, no one seems to be getting the ball. Brad Evans not happy with Adam Johansson so far in this first half either. There are a couple of chances where Johansson seemed to let the ball go out of bounds rather than at least chase it down, and Evans has given it to him.
Alvarez with a steal for Salt Lake, got it to Grabavoy. Velasquez moves it quickly to Beltran on the right, chance to cross. He's going to shoot instead, low, and it's blocked by Hurtado. Beltran against Gonzalez on that right side. Velasquez has struggled a bit with that first touch today. Does well here, though. Gets it back from Beltran. And battling with Zakawani, it's knocked out of bounds, and it'll be a goal. No, they give the corner kick. Seattle and Real Salt Lake players were all expecting a goal kick, and Alan Chapman signaled for a corner. Even the RSL players were running backward.
Yeah. That was a little interesting, wasn't it? But that little play right there, Beltran and Velasquez linking up a little bit over on the right side, and I like what I see from Beltran. He's trying to get into the attack every time. He's making that overlapping run. Can Velasquez work with that? It will be a good question.
Beckerman delivers off the corner kick. The header from Watson Cirabo over the top. First good chance, and he couldn't keep the header down.
Yeah, and he needs to put this one away. This is a great corner by Beckerman, putting it right in that danger area between the goal area and the penalty spot. And Watson Cirabo, first one to it. He's got an open header, basically.
Michael Sperning going the other way, was beaten.
Needs to put that one away. For a guy like Watson Cirabo especially, this is the kind of game, that's the kind of opportunity where he can really make his mark and show that he's ready to contribute game in, game out. It's one of those things that the coaches will remember. Of course, they're going to remember all the positional things and things like that, but that's one of those like highlight things. So when you're really trying to establish yourself, solidify your place, maybe as even a starter, those are those moments you need to put away.
We were talking before the game that Real Salt Lake may be more dangerous on set pieces this year than they have been in some other years. Of course, good height at the back as Joao Plaza is taken down near the halfway line. If Kari Stevenson signs, he's a big target. Alvaro Sabarillo is a big target, and that could be decisive, especially when you have a series like that that's so finely poised. The series in the playoffs against Seattle last year, that's one way to get a goal, maybe not from the run of play.
Yeah, a lot of big bodies up the middle with Cirabo, Schuler. You're right about Kari Stevenson. If he comes in, the club told us yesterday they expect to sign him and expect to announce it next week. Same with Josh Saunders, by the way, goalkeeper from LA Galaxy last year, who's been in camp with RSL. It's both expected to be signed sometime in the next week to complete those deals.
And while we're at it with RSL, we should mention the man expected to be their new signing. The 21-year-old just arrived from Colombia, or beg your pardon, 20-year-old just arrived from Colombia, Olmes Garcia, coming from Deportivo Quindio in Colombia. And he is here. I don't know if we're going to see him today. We could. He's in uniform as a foul's whistled against Estrada for a jersey tug. Certainly, though, Wednesday we expect to see Olmes Garcia.
Yeah, good call there by the assistant referee. Estrada obviously holding on to Schuler's shirt as he runs by him. But, it's interesting there already. Estrada already nudged off the ball by Schuler. That's one thing I think Estrada needs to work on, is to be a little bit stronger when he's chasing or he's on the ball, maybe when he has a half a step. Big year for Estrada for Seattle. Big year. He needs to really step up, needs to be that other option. He needs to basically fill in a little bit for what Montero normally brings.
Yordani Alvarez taking down Mauro Rosales, who had laid the ball off quickly, and the two exchanging a few words. It'll be a free kick to Seattle near the halfway line. Alvarez can get stuck into a tackle. As we mentioned, he's often called on to play that Kyle Beckerman role at the bottom point of the Real Salt Lake Diamond, which has a bit more of an enforcer's role. Defected while with a Cuban national team in the United States, played with Orlando City, was the USL MVP after beginning his career in Austin. That club moved to Orlando and then signed by Real Salt Lake, second full season in MLS. Johansson trying to play that one through, was broken up, almost given away as Eddie Johnson and Kwame Watson-Cirabo battled. And now Sabarillo upset with Zach Scott on the tackle. And we do have some chippiness, Greg. We didn't want to see it, but we do. Brad Evans just mouthed off to Alan Chapman in the center circle, and he's calling on several players to come in and have a discussion.
He's actually calling Mauro Rosales, who's wearing the captain's armband, to give a little discussion. Interesting, not a single RSL player being called into this little huddle. But that's the second time we've seen Zach Scott step up and go through a defender as his back to the goal. Now Zach Scott, another guy who's trying to prove that he deserves a starting spot in that back line. There are open spots perhaps in that back line, and everybody, or at least people think there is, so they're all fighting for that. That's a lot of what preseason ultimately comes down to, is you're fighting for that position.
Zach Scott had a big year last year, 3 assists in the Champions League,
Yep.
Goal in the Open Cup, goal in the playoffs. Free kick hit Beckerman in the back from his own teammate, falls to Seattle. Now Rosales takes a hand to the face, and Yordani Alvarez apologizing, but it's not going to do any
almost time for a huddle for the RSL guys.
Yeah, it's not going to do any favors for Seattle in terms of reacting to these calls. Zakawani on the left, we haven't seen him isolated very much today, and Tony Beltran able to take advantage of a poor touch there as well. You see Plata get it and look for the big figure of Sabarillo, who moves it out wide, just too far for Velasquez.
Looks like it was deflected after it came off of Sabo.
So Beltran to throw in over on that far side. Velasquez left-footed with a little heel flick for Beltran. Low cross, easily dealt with by Hurtado. And Zakawani just bangs it out of the back for Seattle. Neat chest pass by Eddie Johnson to Estrada, gets it back to Johnson. And he's slowed down by the combination of Mansali and Beckerman. And Johnson came up limping a little after Beckerman caught him with that challenge. Here's Johansson on the right side. Rosales ahead of him. Drops it back off. 19th minute, no score from Tucson. Zach Scott floats it long. Going to run out for a goal kick.
So we have our first question that came in on Twitter. This is coming from, I don't even know how you pronounce this, Wheel, at Wheel, but I guess he just goes by Will. Are we going to see more embracing of MLS players to be creative and 1v1 proficient with the recent display of the U.S. men's national team? So it's a good question. It's something you and I were talking about a lot on Wednesday, this idea of like taking a player on one-on-one, having the confidence and the ability to take a player one-on-one. I would love to see more players, especially in MLS, and American players in general, Canadian players, taking players on one-on-one to see what they can do.
Now Eddie Johnson involved off the ball with Chris Schuler, and this time a yellow card for Chris Schuler in the 20th minute. We didn't see the challenge. We just saw Eddie Johnson down on the field, but Alan Chapman did see it and made the call.
As EJ was going across, got mixed up with Schuler, and I don't know if how much active action was done by Schuler himself, or whether it was sort of a proactive action, let's say, or whether it was just they got mixed up as they ran across. But either way, referee deciding that Schuler was not allowed to do what he did.
So Rosales to line up the free kick. Much farther out than the one from which they earned a penalty kick the other night. Serves this one in, looking for Johnson, and Nick Raimondo off his line has it. Watson Cirabo was marked up on Johnson that time, and neither one got ahead to it.
So a little bit too vertical on the ball from Rosales. He needed more of an angle to try and get it to one of the guys making the run at the far post. Mainly to knock it back across is the idea.
Zach Scott in a tough spot there, heading the long ball away from Raimondo. Hurtado hustling, keeps it in the corner. Saves a dangerous spot for Seattle, and see if they can get out. Evans to Gonzalez, who goes forward for Eddie Johnson. 2 men on him. And Velasquez comes back to win it. His pass, though, is picked off. Right back to RSL. Neither team able to hold it for more than a few passes here, as Zach Scott breaks that one up for Seattle. Rosales tries to feed Johnson and didn't hit it the way he wanted to. This is Alvarez for Salt Lake. Alonso and Mansali both went up for that one. It falls to Grabavoy. Velasquez back to Grabavoy. The weight was off on the pass. Plata's run was maybe a little later anyway. Sperning will go quickly the other way. Johnson snuck behind Beltran.
Great look to see Johnson back in that space.
Great accuracy with the long ball as well.
Which is so funny because at training yesterday he was doing some clearances on balls that would be rolled back to him. He could not seem to hit it wherever he wanted it. It was spraying all over the place. It almost hit the GM. It was all kinds of issues.
Left-hand corner. That's Zakawani leaving it for Johnson. His pass broken up. Brad Evans going to hit it well off the mark into the first base dugout from distance, but The shot earns a round of applause from the fans here.
But a good idea and a nicer little bit of build up there from Seattle. Good idea from Evans to go with the hit because he had an overlapping run from Alonso, and I think a lot of people, including maybe some of the RSL defenders, expected the ball to go out to Alonso as opposed to the long-range hit from 25 yards.
Raimondo drives this in the direction of Saborio. It came off the head of Johansson. Mishit switch by Chris Schuler with his off foot. Real Salt Lake keeps possession though. Beckerman going through for Beltran, who's gotten forward well this game at the end line, and his cross is deflected out by the covering Zakawani for an RSL corner.
Now that's the play we were talking about it a minute ago with that square ball from the outside into Beckerman, and then the one-time hit from Beckerman. Now, sometimes we were talking earlier about it would be to Plata curling into the space, but here it's to Beltran making the overlap. Beckerman loves to do that little square ball into him, and then he hits the clip. He clips that one time down the line. Great run from Beltran in the overlap.
Beckerman's second corner, mishit it low, knocked away by Alonso. Beltran keeps it alive for Real Salt Lake. Beckerman, neat fake onto his left foot. Good ball, headed out by Johansson. Plata fires, missed it wide. Had a man in an offside spot, but dangerous for RSL.
Great opportunity for Plata. Really needs to hit the target.
Eddie Johnson hits a floater towards Zakawani. Beltran able to deal with the second one. Velasquez gave it away to Estrada. Here is Zakawani, 1 against 2. Neat move to get into the penalty area. Taken down. Hard slide tackle, and RSL wins the ball. The tackle was a very clean play.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
think he might have had a shout for a penalty. It looked like he got around Beltran, and Beltran was leaning into him.
It was the jersey tug before the tackle that looked like it might have been borderline. Kenny Mansali on the far right side of the field trying to help RSL get out of trouble. And it's knocked out for a goal kick. We'll see if we can...
It's not the tackle coming over from Watson Cirabo, but it is, I think, Beltran maybe as he was going through. Beltran just sort of holding him back, slowing him down. There's that burst of speed we saw from Zakawani a couple of years ago before the unfortunate injury.
And here we get a look at it. Hard to tell from there.
Yeah, to me it looks like it's Beltran actually he's holding him back, and that's why he ends up going down. I'm calling. That should have been a penalty right there. I'm having an opinion.
It would have been soft.
Hey.
I think he went down easily.
I've seen softer penalties.
Well, yes, we all have. Neat moves by RSL trying to free Grabavoy, and Sperning alertly out to knock it aside for a throw-in. I like disagreeing just to disagree, but I also didn't think it was a penalty. Plata does well to turn, gets it to Alvarez, who keeps it moving. This is Mansali on the left. Only one big target in the box. Neat return pass by Yordani Alvarez, taken down by Alonso at the top of the box. Free kick to Real Salt Lake, right at the top of the D.
And all credit in the world here to Saborio for the fake. It's such a simple play. It's the dummy as he runs to the ball. He knows he's got a teammate behind him. Mansali plays it in, and Saborio doesn't touch it. Instead, curls into the space, waiting for the one-time pass to come in from Alvarez.
And Alvarez had 2 good touches on that play, getting to that one to draw the foul, and before that he had a good touch to keep the ball moving. So finally starting to be a little more involved in this game.
Interesting that his impact comes from
in the middle of the field, yes.
Versus out on the left.
He's not comfortable wide. That's pretty apparent.
I don't even think I've seen him play on the left.
Especially on his off foot.
I would at some point I would expect that
he and Velasquez
would switch.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the free kick, 22 yards from goal, right at the edge of the D at the top of the penalty area. Saborio, Grabavoy, and Beckerman. Saborio over the wall, over the goal, and harmlessly out for a goal kick. Wasted chance there.
Yeah, wasted chance indeed. He had a chance there to do a little something, at least hit the target. But it is tough from where he was because he almost wasn't far enough out. If he had another couple of yards, if it had dropped out a couple more yards, he might have been able to get it back down once it gets over the wall.
Giveaway, Plata right side of the area, cutting it back. Grabavoy skied for it, but Zach Scott won it for Seattle. Evans to Rosales. He and Mansali slide and collide, and it's out for a Seattle throw-in. 28th minute, no score, but the action heating up here in Tucson on this early Saturday evening. We told you to send us your questions via Twitter. We also have taken some on YouTube. Here's one from, I guess, Chickpow is what we're going to say. Can anyone on the Sounders fill Montero's shoes?
I don't know. Sometimes he had those really bright shoes that were really hard to fill when he was having those big days. I'm not, at this point, it falls to Estrada to play that role. I'm not sure that he necessarily has it, so I think what it ends up being is that it's a team effort. Rosales needs to be the usual playmaker that he can be. I think Estrada needs to put some goals in, and Eddie Johnson needs to as well.
Here goes Eddie Johnson, left-footed shot blocked by Watson Cirbo. Still alive with Zakawani. Alonso to his left. Plays it across, and Watson Cirbo there to head it out again. Deflected as Zakawani tried to break into the box. Falls to Alonso again. That cross deflected out for a Seattle corner kick. First for the Sounders.
Poor giveaway from Joao Plata as the clearance was trying to be made, and he gives it right back to them. That leads to the corner kick. Back to your question about Freddie Montero, or the question.
It wasn't my question. It was YouTube.
Chickpow on YouTube. His question about Freddie Montero. You're not going to fill his shoes. At the same time, you know, when I think back to Freddie Montero, he wasn't stepping up in the big games. So how much of those shoes really need to be filled?
First corner kick for Seattle. Rosales' delivery looking for Johnson. Raimondo was nowhere near it, and it comes away for a Seattle throw. Johansson to throw, and he'll back up a few steps after the whistle from Alan Chapman.
He doesn't really have an option where to throw. We saw this on Wednesday where Real Salt Lake with this sort of gang defense. Every time someone has the ball, there's more than one person out there, making it difficult for the opponent to get a clean play on the ball or find the pass they really want to find.
First time cross from Gonzalez is deflected, and Schuler cleared it away. Almost hit one of those fine vehicles parked over there. Estrada struggled with his touch there. Beckerman wins it for Salt Lake. He and Beltran eventually win a throw-in on that far sideline. This is still Beltran at right back, switching for Mansali, who seems to have gained a lot of comfort level at left back after he was an attacking player earlier in the league. Came to Real Salt Lake where they wanted to try him at outside back, and he's getting a lot of reps there this preseason with Chris Wingert hurt.
Yeah, he did at the Revolution. He played a couple of games at left back.
That's
Watson Cirbo
a
is
bad
having
miss
a
hit.
shocker so far.
Bad miss hit.
He had that one chance that he had. This is the second ball that he's just misplayed horribly and either put out of bounds or given up possession.
Giveaway by Evans. Plata in the direction of Saborio, and Scott got there for Seattle.
No one wants the ball today.
Zakawani trying to turn on Velasquez. Beltran was there to help out. They play it through for Zakawani. It stayed in on the left side. Zakawani spun, floated it across, but nobody there other than the Salt Lake goalkeeper, Nick Raimondo. Early out for Plata. Leo Gonzalez sweeps it up for Seattle. The out-of-town scoreboard, we start in Las Vegas. Last night, Chivas USA 3, the Colorado Rapids nothing.
3-0.
Sí.
3-0.
Goals de Eric Avila, Juan Agudelo.
There you go.
Y Jose Correa. Agudelo con un penal.
Well
3-0 for Chivas USA. Today at the ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex in Orlando, Montreal Impact and DC United played to a 1-1 tie. Andrea Pisano opening the scoring for Montreal with what I hear was a heck of a goal. Haven't seen it myself. Kyle Porter tied it up for DC. That was a heck of a goal. I did see it in the 85th minute. 1-1 Montreal and DC. Montreal, with the tie, advances to the championship match.
And Montreal actually also played a game last night, 0-0, in Jacksonville.
With Philly?
With Philly, yeah.
That long one headed away by Hurtado. The other final score from Orlando, Philadelphia 3 and Toronto 0. Goals from Antoine Hoppeneau and Roger Torres in the first half. Matt Castle with a long-range shot in the second. He was lined up at center back early in the game. Ended up scoring. Philadelphia 3 and Toronto 0. Neat cutback by Plata. Tried to get it to Velasquez, mishit it. Brad Evans sends it the other way for Seattle. Estrada leaves it for Johansson. It's just out of his reach, and Mansali wins it with a strong tackle, and he got a lot of the knee of Adam Johansson, and the foul call goes against Mansali.
For me, that's not even a foul. I think Mansali has every chance to go and get the ball as well.
It looked 50-50 to me, no? Here, we have a look at it. If we can see it again.
He gets the ball, he keeps
but he
running.
also gets the man. It's hard to say.
You're allowed to actually touch the man.
Right, agreed.
If you don't do it illegally, though.
I believe he just was issued a yellow card in the 34th minute. I mean, Johansson back on his
harsh.
feet.
Johansson's first. The reality was that the ball out to Johansson. That was the real problem.
They call it a hospital ball for a reason.
They do, and that was not a great ball out to Johansson, and he went into the challenge to try and at least win the ball.
So Seattle to restart. 34th minute, no score. Continuing our out-of-town scoreboard with the Carolina Challenge Cup from Blackbaud Stadium in Charleston. Chicago Fire were leading the Houston Dynamo 2-1 last we saw. Adam Moffett scored from a free kick for Houston. Chicago responded with goals from Shergill McDonald and Dilly Duca. That one is now into the second half. We don't have an updated score, but the last we heard, Chicago 2, Houston 1. Velasquez cut past one man, couldn't get past Leo Gonzalez. He feeds Rosales.
Nice to see Dilly Duca getting off to a decent start with his new club in Chicago after the trade from Columbus.
Rosales and Zakawani tried to combine there. Johnson taken down by Yordani Alvarez, who may get a warning himself here.
Yeah, well, this is the second or third time Alvarez has been involved in a little bit of a foul.
It appeared to me, reading body language from here, that the message was, that's 2. Next one, you're in the book.
You're quite adept at reading body language.
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
So precise.
We don't know if I'm adept or not, but I'm offering a guess.
Impressive nonetheless.
An educated guess.
Here's an in-swinger from Rosales. These are dangerous for a goalkeeper. If he hits it with enough pace, it can be extremely dangerous.
Floated in, looking for Scott, and headed away by the RSL backline, cleared by Grabavoy. Plata applying pressure, and he forced Gonzalez and Sperning to run into each other.
Another game of chicken.
I love
that. Was the footless
I love Joao
right
Plata. He chases everything.
He does chase down everything.
David Estrada does on the other side of the field, and they're going to make things interesting for a goalkeeper back there. Plata still only 20. He turns 21 on March 1st. This will be his third MLS season with his second team.
Great ball from Ozzy Alonso to switch it over to the right side.
Yeah, he's not bad, huh?
Not bad.
You know he's good when the head coach of the Portland Timbers picks him as his best defensive midfielder in MLS, the hated rival of the Sounders. Alan Chapman overrules his linesman, says no foul, and Ziggy Schmidt up out of his technical area and losing a bit of his cool right now. Ziggy Schmidt still looking on as Velasquez moves forward for RSL.
He's looking over at the assistant referee trying to find out.
And Ziggy's still talking about it.
The assistant referee a minute ago, actually, or a second ago, just shook his head as if he didn't know why.
He didn't. He's the one who flagged for the foul, and Alan Chapman said, I have a better angle. I'm going to overrule you.
Well, that's his prerogative. He's the man in the middle.
See, again, I know what he's saying from up here.
Again with the body language.
And substitution coming for Johansson, who appears a little shaken up after that collision with Mansali. And DeAndre Yedlin, the homegrown player after 2 years at Akron, still only 19, is going to come in here.
Very
in the 38th
active
minute.
young player. We had a question on Twitter during Wednesday's game wondering if Yedlin could maybe see some time, maybe even see some starting time. I think it's going to be difficult for him to break into the starting lineup, but he is an active, lots of potential, upside as they like to say, and I think that he might get a little bit of time here and there, maybe an open cup game, that kind of thing.
He does. If Zach Scott is in his normal spot at right back, he is still third on the depth chart. Here's Estrada, top of the area. Leaves it for Zakawani. Wants to get to the end line. Tried to play it across. It's deflected and falls to Nick Raimondo.
And why wouldn't
Indecisive?
Zach hit it? He has a chance. It's a nice setup. Just hit it once. There's a chance of a rebound, things like that. Instead, he allows the defense to catch up with him. Nice little play, though, from David Estrada to draw a couple of defenders to him before laying it off to Zakawani.
Here's Brad Evans deep in the midfield for Seattle. Swings it wide left to Gonzalez. Yedlin out of O'Day High School in the Seattle area. Played PDL with the Seattle Sounders under 23 side. On the ball here. Keeps going down the right-hand side, gets it back from Rosales. Early ball in, Estrada, good touch. Fires wide at the far post. But right away, gets involved, makes something happen.
You know, Yedlin, the way he's going to move down the right side, you know, and he's already back there listening to Zach Scott, trying to understand. He makes a great run down the right side. His ball in, finding Estrada. Now, Estrada's first touch takes him just a little bit wide, so it makes it harder for him to hit the target. He does go to the far post, and he just squirrels it just wide of the net. But really, it's his first touch that goes just a bit wide, so it makes it that much harder for him to get his body around on it.
Hurtado heads that one away for a Salt Lake throw-in. More YouTube questions. Will LA and San Jose repeat last year's performances after their off-season changes?
That's a good question. I think that LA probably...
LA is better positioned, yeah?
LA probably have more... no, I would actually say that LA probably have more questions than San Jose. You know, I think San Jose still a good team. Still, the core is still there. The Galaxy, it's just a different core. Without David Beckham, without Landon Donovan, it's a much different core. New goalkeeper as well. I mean, those are 3 positions that would be starting normally. Last year, they were all guaranteed to start. No Edson Buttle, he's gone as well, so you missed that coming in. Another, you know, he didn't start every time, but that's fine. I do think there are some young players for the LA Galaxy that might get some time. Villarreal is an exciting player. Zardes, the young guy they drafted, or homegrown.
He's banged up at the moment, but they do expect him back early.
And he could be a goal scorer. He likes to tell everyone that he's a goal scorer himself, he'll tell you. San Jose.
Jack McBean, we still haven't seen a lot of.
Jack McBean, also a very good player, so showed very well in CONCACAF Champions League play. So San Jose, on the other hand.
Long ball looking for Sabarillo. He's onside, right side of the area. And under pressure from Hurtado, can't hold on to the ball. And John Kennedy Hurtado will go the other way.
Now, if you thought Zakawani went down easily early
I know.
that was going down easily.
And this time, Sabarillo gets what will be in his mind revenge by clattering into Hurtado late and picking up the foul.
All right, so we have a question on Twitter. This actually comes from @Alexi Lawless, and he asks...
Is that the verified account?
It is the verified account.
Okay.
In 2012, was Mauro Rosales worthy of his designated player distinction or tag? Was he worthy of being a designated player in 2012?
Well, I sneaked a peek at my numbers.
Good. You should. That's not sneaking. That's doing your job.
3 goals, 13 assists last year after he had 3 goals, 15 assists the year before. So I like the production.
Production's great.
I got to be honest. I wasn't watching enough Seattle games to say for sure. But, again, not knowing what the full DP amount is, but occupying that spot on the roster, I'll say yes. I like Mauro Rosales.
I agree. I agree. I think he brings something the team needs also, and something that we know.
Neat moves to get Mansali free, and it's broken up by Yedlin at the last second. Back to Mansali, who executes a nice pirouette into the corner. Velasquez tries to turn, and Yedlin tackles him again. Yedlin showing very well late first half.
And some composure in the back, actually trying to just slip a little ball into another teammate.
Floats one long. Great touch on it. Eddie Johnson watches it run into the hands of Ramondo. I tell you, the first 20 minutes against Portland, he looked like a scared kid, and he's looking like a worthy homegrown signing here.
Very confident.
Beltran on the right. Backward for Watson Cirabo. 43rd minute. No score. Beltran trying to play it through for Plata. First touch takes him away from Hurtado. Velasquez, neat chip to find Plata in space. His cross is headed out by Scott. Great running by Beckerman and a great touch first time to get it to Mansali. Gets it back to Beckerman. Chip pass blocked by Alonso with Plata making the run. And it's broken up, knocked out for a Seattle throw-in. But that, oh no, it stayed in? I beg your pardon. With Watson Ciravo at the back.
Interesting to see how Yordani Alvarez has stayed in the middle. He just stopped going out to the left flank. They've been pretty much giving up this left side.
Offside flag up against Sabarillo. Yeah, they're letting Mansali be a one-man.
Well, Grabavoy is actually the one who's come across. Basically what they've done is they've pulled Grabavoy out from the top of the diamond and put Yordani Alvarez at the top. Now that means it's going to be a little bit less of a pointed top of the diamond because Grabavoy obviously a more attacking type player than Yordani Alvarez.
Brad Evans getting forward here for Seattle with Rosales ahead of him. Great slide tackle by Beckerman to knock that one out.
It was a good run by Rosales. He's frustrated that the ball didn't get to him.
Early long throw in for Johnson, and he was too casual with the header, but he did catch Chris Schuler napping and snuck in behind him.
Great throw from Evans. He recognized it early, got it over the big 6'4" Schuler.
That one bounces over the head of Scott. Yedlin deals with it, knocks it away at the halfway line. The ball movement between the two center backs for Real Salt Lake has not quite been up to in-season standard for me just yet.
Or Jason Christ standard.
Fair enough. There's the halftime whistle from Alan Chapman. Real Salt Lake and the Seattle Sounders scoreless at the half. And Greg, you and I, the words we used were disjointed, choppy. There wasn't a lot of flow to it. Some good moments in the middle there. Any takeaways from the first half?
Well, I think that maybe people are a little bit tired. You know, they played on Wednesday. Then they had a couple of hard days of training. Salt Lake actually trained this morning as well, although not as much as some of the guys who were playing most of the minutes. So are their legs a little bit tired? That's, I think, a question for a lot of the guys. It's a little bit hotter than it was on Wednesday. I don't know. There are going to be a lot of change in the second half, and things might open up when you have a bunch of new players hitting on the field.
Kwame Watson-Cirbo, the best scoring chance for Real Salt Lake with that header high early in the first half. David Estrada, the best chance for Seattle from the DeAndre Yedlin cross late in the first half. Neither converted. It's Seattle nothing, Real Salt Lake nothing at the half. We'll take a 10-minute break, come back with updated scores and second half action. Real Salt Lake and the Seattle Sounders from the Desert Diamond Cup in Tucson. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Welcome back to Tucson, Arizona. Halftime here at the Desert Diamond Cup. Real Salt Lake nothing and the Seattle Sounders nothing. Jonathan Yardley, Greg Lawless with you, and we take a look back at first half highlights. We start with the penalty shout. Joao Plata, yes or no?
Well, I'm not shouting for a penalty at all. I think that's a good tackle.
Great challenge.
Leo Gonzalez clears the danger eventually. Well done. This is a great chance, though. Watson Cirabo skying up there, and he puts it over the bar. Good ball in from Beckerman, gets the height, and Watson Cirabo beating everyone to it. He needs to put that on target. He actually needs to put it in the back of the net.
Best chance for Seattle. David Estrada firing wide after taking a touch from a DeAndre Yedlin cross. Was that a tough angle? Seattle's closest chance, really, other than a couple Eddie Johnson looks.
Yeah, it was their closest chance. That it was a good ball from Yedlin in to find Estrada. Estrada doing what he needs to do in the box. I think the coaches will want to see a little bit more of that. The movement in the box from Estrada is a thing that can start to separate him a little bit more, start to make people forget that Freddie Montero is not there anymore.
No score at the half here. In other games, a few updated scores at the Carolina Challenge Cup in Charleston. The Chicago Fire beat the Houston Dynamo 3-2. Goals for Chicago from Shergill McDonald, Dilly Duca, and Jeff Lorenowitz. Goals for Houston from Adam Moffett and Cam Weaver, both on set pieces. Tally Hall saved a Maicon Santos penalty kick. Ricardo Clark left the game injured. Chicago 3, Houston 2. Other game going on right now. Columbus leads Orlando City 1-0 on an early headed goal from Agustin Viana, one of their new acquisitions. And unfortunately, Chad Marshall left that game injured. So keep an eye out for news from both of those games. No score here at the half. And Greg, I believe we have a few more questions, or at least one, coming in on Twitter.
Here's a good one that comes in from @Pain_machine. So I'm just saying Pain Machine. So what can MLS do to help its teams advance in CCL quarterfinals while in preseason form?
It's a tough one. I mean, they're already giving them extra allocation money. You get allocation money a certain amount for making the group stage, and you get a little more if you make the quarterfinal stage.
Well,
but it's still early in the year.
This is the first. It is. So for one thing, let's just reiterate. It's no longer preseason form because they will actually have started the regular season, which hasn't happened in a while now, that the quarterfinals take place after the start of the regular season. Usually they happen in the middle of preseason. This time, it's different. Regular season will start the weekend of the 2nd and 3rd for MLS, and it's that following week that the first leg of the quarterfinals will take place. So Seattle will take on Tigres, I believe, on the Tuesday of that week.
March 6th. And then what MLS has done this year is give all three of those teams week 2 off.
Wednesday, yes. And then they have the week 2 off for those teams. So the league has done some things from a scheduling standpoint that will hopefully, I think from an MLS standpoint, help them get to a better place in CCL, get to the semifinals, get into the finals perhaps, and hopefully win it at some point.
So things already being done, and again, we'll see if those have any effect on this year's quarterfinal stage with Houston, LA, and Seattle in the CONCACAF quarterfinals. A lot of changes at the half for Seattle, and we are sorting those out now. But we feel pretty good about them.
Well, if they've all happened the way that they were supposed to, we can actually
there's one that
read
hasn't
them off right now.
There's one that hasn't happened yet. It's one of the center back spots. So they're going to start the second half with Michael Sperning in goal, Yedlin at right back. Zach Scott will be partnered in the middle of defense by Ashani Fairclaw, an undrafted free agent who's Jamaican, played his collegiate soccer at South Florida. And Dylan Remick out of Brown will be at left back.
Shout out to Brown.
In the midfield, Alonzo.
That was coming.
Had to. I teed you up for it on purpose.
There aren't many of us in this world, so.
In the midfield, Alonzo stays in the game. Andy Rose will join him. We get our first preseason look for Seattle of Mario Martinez back from the Honduras national team on the right. Alex Kasky on the left. Up front, Sammy Ochoa and Philip Lund, a trialist who is Danish. And he's listed as a midfielder. He's going to get a shot here as the second forward playing off of Sammy Ochoa. On the Real Salt Lake side, no changes that we can see. Nope, there's one. Kari Stevenson in for Yordani Alvarez at the half. And that will certainly change the midfield just a little bit. And as we mentioned, add some height on set pieces. With Stevenson in, he's still unsigned. But promising signs that he will join RSL this year.
According to sources actually in the league, spokesperson for the league said yesterday that they're expecting it to get it done within the next week. Be interesting to see if this sort of first team or the A- team for Salt Lake can take advantage of this Seattle team with many trialists and younger players and rookies.
These are definitely the 15 minutes Ziggy Schmidt was most worried about from a results perspective at the beginning of the day, with his reserves out there against what really is about the strongest team that Real Salt Lake can put out at the moment. Again, they're still banged up in terms of Borchers, Wingert, Morales not here and available, but otherwise pretty strong group for Salt Lake. Underway in the second half, shadows creeping across the field here at Keno Veterans Memorial Stadium, normally a baseball stadium, but getting a lot of soccer use early in 2013 as Kwame Watson-Siriboe elects to play that one out for a throw-in. And they'll leave it for Dylan Remick in that corner. We've seen Remick at holding midfield a couple times, but left back his preferred spot. Lund heads this down. Caskey's offside. The flag is up. And eventually we do get the whistle. It'll be a free kick to Real Salt Lake.
Decent little play, though. The ball into Lund, the one-time flick onto Caskey.
New England and New York coming up in the second game. We expect that to start around 8:25, I believe, Eastern, 6:25 here in the Mountain Time Zone, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the wind is picking up. Remember earlier in the game we talked about the wind?
I told you it was windy. You didn't believe me.
It wasn't then. What are you talking about? I didn't believe you because there was no wind. But now there is a little bit of wind. The flag sticks themselves are actually starting to, corner flags, I should say. Flag sticks makes me think of golf. I don't know. But we are in Arizona. There's lots of golf.
We've seen a few golf courses, not
more than a few.
Not from walking on them, but Beckerman had Mansali going forward in front of him, couldn't find him, and leaves it for him coming backward the other way. Grabavoy out on the right-hand side.
Halftime substitution for Real Salt Lake, replacing number 14, Jordani Alvarez, number 50, Kari Stevenson.
Hey, they announced Stevenson's name properly this time.
That's right. We've gotten names.
We have gotten names wrong, and we will probably continue to get names wrong every once in a while. Not for lack of effort.
Good defense there from Seattle. Good team defense. They kept their shape, did not bite on anything that any of the runs or moves in the midfield or up top from Real Salt Lake.
Stevenson to throw in on that far side. Played with Kansas City and most recently with San Jose in his MLS career. Had seasons where he's been very productive. And again, Real Salt Lake this year not in a position having extra allocation money based on Champions League play for the first time. Be interested to see that they can fit him in under that salary cap. Good leave by Beckerman. Grabavoy gets it to Beltran on the right. Beltran cuts inside. Guarded by Alonso and forced backward by the combination of Alonso and Lund. Velasquez. Pass is deflected. Rose's clearance right back to Velasquez. Clearance picked off by Watson-Siriboe. Knocked away, though. Here's Ochoa for Seattle. Holds it up as he does. Gets it to Mario Martinez. Left-footed ball back to Ochoa. Took him into the corner. Low cross, and it's fired over by Martinez in the middle of the box. But right away, Mario Martinez, who's been so good with Honduras, active for Seattle.
Yeah, and has that great left foot. So if he's playing on the right side, he's going to be cutting to the inside. He's looking with Ochoa. Good work from Ochoa, though, the hold-up play. That's what they would look for him. Big body up top, knows how to play with his back to goal.
And, of course, Mario Martinez had the goal that decided these clubs' playoff series in November. Beckerman ahead to Plata with Fairclaw on him. The ball falls to Stevenson, who moves it well. Now Velasquez. Beltran, all kinds of space, and a shot from Stevenson from outside, not that far off. He likes to shoot, and I think he caught Michael Sperning a little bit by surprise.
And he has a cannon, always has had a cannon. We've seen some long-range hits from him over the years that have hit the upper 90s. So if he has a little bit of space, he's going to turn. He's going to take it.
Speaking of pronunciations in this game, we should mention, talk to Sebastian Velasquez this week.
Velasquez?
No, we clarified with
did?
him directly.
It's Velasquez.
It's Velasquez. After many sources told us last year that it was Velasquez, we went to the source, got him in Spanish discussing it. Velasquez.
All right.
So if you're a broadcaster out there, take note.
That's good to know, because I've already been yelled at on Twitter for pronouncing it Velasquez by someone, a fan of Real Salt Lake.
Yes,
so
it's a change from last year, but
hey,
he was
it's his name, and he can pronounce it how he wants it.
He was very confident.
And we will pronounce it the way he wants as well.
Sabarillo running with the ball for RSL. Alonso closed him down. Now Mansali on the left. Stevenson under pressure from Andy Rose. Moves it well. Velasquez with it for RSL to Beltran. Grabavoy's return pass broken up by Caskey, who gets into the tackle. Beckerman did well to get it back, though. Plays it through for Beltran. Good vision there from Beckerman, and the pass just skips out at the last bounce toward Tony Beltran.
And now Real Salt Lake is going to pressure in. They all collapsed in for this throw from deep in the Seattle
8
area.
out of 11 pressuring this corner. Caskey tried to find Lund. Ochoa went down, but eventually his team kept possession of the ball. Here's Yedlin on the right and Martinez outside of him. They've got some serious hair on that side of the field. Martinez back to Yedlin. Alonso in the midfield. Martinez still. Ochoa's layoff, though, picked off. Possession retained by the Sounders. Martinez tried to chip the pass. It was broken up by Mansali. Stevenson through ball looking for Plata. Fairclaw under pressure, slides and gets it away. And the throw-in goes in favor of RSL.
Well done by Fairclaw just to stay with him step for step. And when he had the chance to go in, make the play, got it done.
6'2", 164. Has represented Jamaica at youth international levels. Signed out of South, or not signed, beg your pardon, invited to camp out of South Florida. Told you they were looking at center backs. He's another one. He's partnering Zach Scott at the moment. Again, we were told that we would see Eric Zavaleta, the #1 draft pick out of Indiana, at some point in this second half. Greg hates. Greg hates talking about formations. And was that
no,
not
I
correct?
will talk formations.
You will talk formations?
Let's talk
we got a question.
All right.
I was going to turn it down on your behalf.
No, come on. Let's talk about formations.
Cross coming in from Mansali, looking for Sabarillo, headed away by Fairclaw. This is Caskey in the corner. Clearance goes right to Grabavoy at the edge of the area. Curls it in, headed out by Scott. His targets had slipped. Falls to Beckerman. Beltran to Sabarillo, top of the box. His shot deflected wide and out for a corner kick.
I don't know if you could hear it, but someone in the audience just yelled out, "Have it!" And I think I agree with it. Someone needs to take a shot there. I mean, obviously Sabarillo always going to be looking to take a shot. Here's Beltran. Someone yelled, "Have it!" right about there, wondering why isn't Beltran maybe looking to go to goal. Sabarillo goes instead, and it deflects and didn't miss the upper left 90 by far as it deflected off the defender.
I think that angle showed why Beltran didn't have it. Someone was closing down his right foot.
Yeah. He does have a left foot, you know. Could push it to his left foot and go to goal.
Beckerman's delivery headed out by Alonso. Second ball falls to Beltran's right foot. Cleared away by
Trouble.
the middle line there. And you say trouble. It's Kwame Watson-Sirbo committing the foul. Free kick to Seattle.
Oof, if Martinez had seen or been able to get just a little bit more control of the ball, he might have sprung Ochoa down the side. For a second there, Seattle were 2-on-1 going the other way on the counterattack.
That's why I was surprised there was no card there, given the tactical nature of the foul. And Seattle restarts to Yedlin on the right. Yedlin, great burst of speed. Looking for Lund, and Schuler's there, escorts it out for a goal kick. So we'll get back to
what do we got?
Formations. Question coming in, I believe, from YouTube, from Adam. Will Ziggy Schmidt play a 4-3-3 or a 3-5-2 this year?
In the name.
I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name.
Adam Murgatroyd.
Okay.
Like heavens to Murgatroyd. It's spelled a little differently. So, will Ziggy Schmidt, the head coach of Seattle, go to a 4-3-3 or a 3-5-2? I would guess not, but there might be some opportunities to. I doubt a 3-5-2. I do not see a Ziggy Schmidt team playing a 3-5-2 anytime soon.
Here's Alex Caskey on the left-hand side. Stepping over to the left foot. Well defended by Watson Cirabo. And RSL come away with it. Velasquez in the middle of the field. Stevenson gets it out to Beltran. '56th minute, no score. Beckerman going over the top for Saborio. Control at the edge of the area, tried to cut it by Fairclaw, and it ran right to Sperning.
Just to get back to that question, I could see him going to a 4-3-3 every now and then.
To match an opponent, or to get something different out of his team?
I would say to get something different out of his team if he needs a little bit more firepower up top in particular.
Martinez slipping it through. I think he was targeting Lund, and it came off of
Rose. Looks like Rose.
Yes.
Making that run. Rose is sort of playing a little higher than Alonso. Alonso's sitting in. Rose just a little bit in front of him. I mean, if we're talking formations and all that, right now Seattle are basically playing a 4-1-3-2. Because Alonso sits in behind the other three midfielders.
Jay Heaps was actually sounding a little wistful about the 3-5-2 the other day when we talked to him.
As he should. It was successful for them. It worked. It helps when you have a player like Michael Parkhurst who can.
And that was the player he brought it up in the context of.
It makes all the difference when you have a player like him to be your man in the middle, where it has pace, incredible positional sense, and very, very calm. It's the man in the middle of the three and back.
We've been going around talking to coaches about a bit of MLS history and some of the standout players. It's been very interesting to hear their responses. Alonso going to shoot from distance, well off the mark.
It would have been tough. I like that he's trying, though. I'd like to see a few more shots. I mean, those long-range shots might actually end up pulling a defense out. Too often I think that teams are reluctant to go from distance for the shot.
A couple of Seattle players getting up on the bench. We see Zavaleta, Josh Ford, Servando Carrasco, who we expect to see shortly as the long ball rolls to Nick Raimondo.
Lots of debate about Zavaleta.
And here we get a look at Eric Zavaleta.
Lots of debate about him, about whether he's better as a forward or better as a defender.
And he's played both this preseason.
Yep.
We expect to see him at center back today, though.
I think that Ziggy Schmidt believes that he's better as a center back, where he played for the under-20 national team.
That was kind of the prevailing wisdom from a lot of the coaching ranks that I had heard.
Yep. And yet, for Indiana, he played forward and he scored a lot of goals. And I talked to someone actually on the technical staff for the Sounders just yesterday, and he was saying, "Hey, you scored that many goals. There's a good opportunity. There's a good chance. This guy's just a goal scorer, and you want that up top."
And they need one right
now.
now.
They need that.
Substitution coming for Real Salt Lake. Joao Plata coming out and David Viana coming in.
Interestingly, Plata coming straight over to the bench rather than going to the center, which I don't actually like. I think he should go over and acknowledge the player who's coming on for him rather than going over to the bench.
I know. I thought he looked a little like maybe there was a slight injury, but now he's not being looked at or anything.
But a good run from Plata in this one. Stevenson with the free kick.
Gonna hit it into the dugout again. David Viana, 21-year-old, now his second season, but his first full year in MLS, native of Strasbourg in France. As we get a substitution for Seattle, it'll be Josh Ford coming in and Michael Sperning.
Not quite yet.
Nope, he's being waved back. Michael Sperning made it halfway there.
Strasbourg, France.
Yes.
Beautiful cathedral there.
Oui.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Well, now you do.
I have not been to Strasbourg.
Yeah, beautiful little town. Famous for its cathedral.
Long ball by Remick, too far for Ochoa. Isn't there a Brown soccer cheer that I'm supposed to know?
No, well, you shouldn't know it. You didn't play at Brown.
I've seen Brown play.
Well, that doesn't count. I've seen Manchester United play, but I don't.
You don't know all the cheers?
No, I don't.
Beckerman's clearance was blocked. Seattle still trying to win it back from Stevenson, who's taking on two at once. And it's knocked out for Real Salt Lake throw-in. And now we will get the sub with Josh Ford coming in and Michael Sperning coming out. 60th minute on the transaction. And a round of applause for Michael Sperning from the Seattle fans in attendance. Josh Ford is third year out of UConn. Seattle's used 5 other goalkeepers while he's been with them. He has yet to play in an MLS game. He always seems to be hurt in season, and he's seen guys like Brian Meredith and others get the minutes that could have been his.
Casey Keller.
Well, I'm not arguing that he should have displaced the number 1.
I think every once in a while he was saying, "Darn you, Keller, taking my minutes."
Somehow I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I doubt he's doing that about Sperning as well.
So those 15 minutes, and it may be longer as RSL, we'll see how long RSL's starting group goes. They do have another group warming up, but Seattle's reserves have been pretty comfortable.
Done very well. I really like Yedlin.
Martinez, great left-footed ball forward there, and Watson Cirbo headed it down to himself. Struggles to get that forward with the left foot, though. They've not been good with their feet at the back for RSL at times. That one kept in by Stevenson, who just blasted it long. Viana chasing it. We've seen Viana in that diamond midfield today. We see him at second forward, running next to Sabarillo for the moment. Kasky quickly closed down and did win a throw-in out of it. Ochoa gave it away off the throw-in.
Tough ball on the throw-in. That's tough for Ochoa to deal with, and to try and go back. Should probably try and flick it forward.
Ochoa settled it there for Kasky. His pass in the direction of Lund was picked off. Here's Stevenson at the halfway line. Viana under pressure in the center circle, dispossessed. Mario Martinez on the right side of the field with that left foot. Gets it back from Alonso. Martinez moving upfield, tries a couple step overs. Goes down softly, and ball rolls out for a Seattle throw.
Strange play from Grabavoy there.
Reminder coming up next after our game, the New York Red Bulls and the New England Revolution. Won't be immediately following, but we'll restart the stream and have full coverage of that game for you. And we'll give you a harder kickoff time before we go off the air with this one, New York and New England. Another pair of Northeastern rivals. And we do get an update from Orlando. Orlando City has tied up the Columbus Crew. They're now 1-1 in the second half. I love watching Orlando City in that preseason tournament. I've been there the last couple years because they're even earlier in their preseason than the MLS teams, but Adrian Heath always has them organized and knowing exactly where every teammate's going to be. Back heel for Beckerman. Thought about hitting it with his left. Instead to Sabarillo. Onside. Fires. Missed into the near side netting from a bad angle.
Nice little ball from Beckerman to find Sabo, but at some point he needs to just drill it across really hard, I would say. I mean, I know he's trying to go high to the upper 90 on the near side, but I think there are a couple players in the middle that are a little disappointed. Here it is. Nice ball slipped through. Sabarillo beats the defense. Good curling run. And then tries to go high to the near post.
High degree of difficulty on that finish.
It is. I mean, look, if you're in that situation, you really have two options. You either go high to the near post, you go low to the far post, or probably the best option, just drill it across the goal mouth and hope that there's going to be a flick, maybe even a deflection.
Lund trying to turn. Watson Cirbo took him out of the play, but Seattle's still with it. Lund again turning. Tried to get the return pass from Ochoa, and it was caught between he and Remick.
Just a bad touch from Ochoa. Too much heat on it.
So, true to form, these two teams struggle to score against each other. This time, Nick Raimondo hasn't had to make any heroic saves as he did last fall. But these teams, again, went 400 minutes last year without scoring against each other before Mario Martinez's goal that settled their conference semifinal series. Here's Yedlin on the right-hand side, all the way back to Fairclough.
Good ball. Well done.
Remick's pass forward.
Not a good ball.
Didn't have anybody running after it, was where I was going with it. Raimondo, rough touch clearing it. Rose picked it off, tries to feed Ochoa. Seattle, though, can't get hold of it before Raimondo got back in position. Beckerman to Viana to Beltran. We hear great things about Viana coming out of RSL training. Every time I've seen him, he's underwhelmed me. Ochoa to Yedlin on the right.
I like Ochoa. I like what he does with his bat to goal. He's a true target man in many ways.
Martinez, who's drifted into the middle of the field for Seattle now. Kasky on the left. Plays it to Ochoa. Back to goal as usual. Kasky's cross now deflected. Raimondo hesitated. Falls to Martinez with that left side netting! Just like last fall. Mario Martinez does it again.
What a goal.
Que golazo.
What is it? Seattle comes down here every game. They score a beautiful goal. We saw Eddie Johnson do it in the first game, and now Mario Martinez.
Have a look.
A really poor clearance, to be perfectly honest. And then there's the hit right there. Referee, you're in the way. Get out of the way, referee.
Unfortunately, Alan Chapman hiding our view, but what a hit from
Side
Mario
volley,
Martinez.
curling it into the far netting exactly like he did last fall. Incredible. That's how they need to score. Just put Mario Martinez on the field every time.
Deja vu all over again. This is a guy who's been so influential for Honduras at times.
Oh, best man on the field for either team in the U.S. game.
Yeah.
That World Cup qualifier.
Alonso trying to find Lund. You think he's better than Garcia?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. But in that Canada game as well last fall, he was a terror. And he hasn't been able to be that influential for Seattle with the exception of that one strike last fall and now this one. But if he can get in a rhythm with this team, he's a difference maker.
Oh, yeah. He will be starting for this team. He is really a wonderful young talent.
Could he be a guy who could play wide in a 4-3-3 and be effective? Or do
Definitely.
Yeah, see, that might be a situation where Ziggy Schmid would like to go to it, as this one's out for a corner kick. As soon as you said, man, I could see him going to a 4-3-3 to take advantage of his personnel, that was the guy I thought of.
Yep.
Zavaleta and Carrasco up at the sideline could be coming in shortly, but first we'll have the corner, and Mario Martinez will trot over to take it. 68th minute, Seattle 1, Real Salt Lake nothing on a goal from, you guessed it, Mario Martinez.
Super Mario. This makes me think of super people. Inzaghi. People Inzaghi.
yes.
Guy, all he does is score.
Back post delivery, and Zach Scott was arriving. His header was blocked and then cleared away by RSL. Yedlin gave it away to Grabavoy. Saborio in the middle, Velasquez at the back post. They play it toward Grabavoy, left corner. Grabavoy's cross blocked, falls to Viana. His shot deflected and cleared away by Dylan Remick.
But where's the urgency? Viana getting the ball in a good position. If he goes with some urgency and tries to go to goal, he's got a real chance to go to goal. Instead, he waits a little bit slow to get the shot off, and by then the defense has come out to make the block.
Now Beckerman had been taking the corners. Grabavoy will take this one from the left. Grabavoy sends it in, looking for Watson Cirbo. Headed out, I believe, by Rose. Velasquez, tricky dribbles. Gets back to that left foot, plays it across, and Josh Ford has it easily. He wanted to get back to that left, and it gave him a more difficult angle.
It would have been better if he'd used the right, because he had it. He had a half a step. He had some space. He could have curled it in with the right foot when everyone was actually starting to make their run. Keep it away from the goalkeeper.
Babiello Sodade joining the Seattle substitutes, preparing to come in. Remick's pass picked off. Salt Lake responding quickly. Beckerman to Saborio. He's onside in the right corner. Beltran up in the box in support. The feed for Beltran on the end line, cuts it back, deflected by Yedlin, cleared by Fairclaw. And Ochoa to Martinez, they had a 3-on-3 if they hurry. Martinez took advantage of a slip to Ochoa on the right. Back to Martinez, his heel pass for Alonso, they just weren't on the same page there. Andy Rose keeps possession though for Seattle.
The truth is, with Martinez out there, it almost is a 4-3-3. Because he's not going to be tracking back defensively that much.
Alonso bursts into the box, fires low, save Armando, rebound, knocked home. Philip Lund, the Danish trialist, does a jig. It's 2-0 Seattle.
This is all Ozzy, though.
Yes.
Alonso getting in behind the defense and takes a quick shot.
And Armando, like he did last year, made an impressive save, but in this case, the rebound hurt him.
And there's the quick shot from Alonso. I'm not sure everyone expected him to be hitting it quite as early as he did. Most people probably expected him to actually be bouncing it around. Lund with the finish and the celebration.
Substitutions coming. Sodade, Carrasco, and Zavaleta in. Alonso, Scott, and Lund out in the 71st minute. So good game for Alonso after he was forced to leave the game on Wednesday night. He gets 70 minutes here and sets up the second Sounders goal. Kasky on the run immediately. And Sodade, great form, chases it into the corner but watches it run out for a goal kick.
Great form in the run. Kind of a weak slide.
Yes. It is a baseball stadium, but I don't know that he's been schooled in the technique. Watson Cirbo back to Raimondo. So Seattle won its first game 2-0. Trying to wrap up a spot in the final, I believe, if they can hold on to win this one.
Good ball right there from Viana.
New York and New England coming up next right here on MLSsoccer.com. Beltran slipped but still received the pass. Sabarillo layoff for Beckerman. Left-footed shot blocked by Fairclaw. Mansali. Beckerman. Chip pass for Beltran. Plays it across and it runs through everybody and is cleared by Andy Rose. I think my partner would like Real Salt Lake to shoot the ball earlier. Is that a fair assessment?
That is.
Zavaleta manhandles Grabavoy.
You're reading body language again.
RSL keeps it going. And good tackle by Carrasco to win it off of Stevenson. I don't know if it was illegal manhandling by Zavaleta, but he certainly used his body on that one. Kasky on the left with all kinds of space. Plays it low across the box. Missed at the back post by Sodade. It was on a platter.
Again with the form on the slide. If he slides correctly and puts his leg way out there, get it out there as much as possible, he's got a goal.
Who knew that would become important? Now we have a better look at the Mario Mart. No, we don't. Oh, we're looking
the ball in there.
at the cross.
Really needs to finish this. It's a great ball from Alex Kasky.
And we also want to take a look back at the Martinez hit.
There it is.
Oof.
A nice side volley from Martinez with the left foot into the side netting.
You might see that on some highlight reels in Seattle tonight. Stevenson took a knock in midfield as we prepare for a Real Salt Lake line change that will challenge our abilities to keep up with this. 45 is Rich Balshin, so we'll get a look at him.
Palmer in for Beltran. Sturzer in for Grabavoy.
Salcedo and Mond in at the back for Watson Cirbo and Schuler. Enzo Martinez, we'll get a look at him. Cole Grossman is in. Devin Sandoval is in.
Sandoval in for Saborillo. Grossman in for Beckerman.
So, and Nick Raimondo came out. Lalo Fernandez in goal for Real Salt Lake.
Substitutions now in goal. Number 1, Lalo Fernandez.
Lalito, as he's known.
Also on the pitch, number 4, Aaron Mead.
Free kick for Real Salt Lake. 75th minute, Seattle leading 2-0.
Number 16, Carlos Salcedo.
Floated into the penalty area. Sandoval tried to get ahead on it. It's cleared by Yedlin.
John Sturzer. Number 34, Devon Sandoval.
Lavelle Palmer comes back, heads it in the direction of Fernandez, and he tracks it down. Balshin at left back, Lavelle Palmer at right back for Real Salt Lake. Lalo Fernandez, the goalkeeper for RSL, 20-year-old from El Paso, second MLS season. Has already played professionally with Peñarol in Uruguay, but was classified as a homegrown player. You want some lemonade, Greg?
This guy says it's like none other made. Like none are made.
Through ball looking for Sandoval. Zavaleta there. Plays it safe out for a throw-in. Cole Grossman to throw. Throws to Lavelle Palmer, who originally wanted to take the throw, and his cross deflected by Rose. Header into the middle of the field to Enzo Martinez. Kari Stevenson back in the game. Sturzer, though, broken up. Here's Mario Martinez for Seattle. I think he has carte blanche to go wherever. Offside flag up against Babiela Sodade.
Sodade moving a little bit early, although you could also say that
he didn't want to slide this time.
If Martinez were to play the ball sooner into Ochoa, Ochoa can then play the second one to Sodade earlier. So it's all about the timing.
Palmer forward, Zavaleta trying to deal with it. Gets it away.
Good work from Zavaleta.
I don't know that his form was textbook, but in the end he got the result, and that's all that matters.
I like to think of that as the Arnold Palmer rule. His swing was horrible, but he was effective. This isn't math. You don't need to show your work, right? Just get the answer.
That pass too far for Lavelle Palmer. It'll be a throw-in to Seattle. Top two teams from these four will play for the title a week from tonight. You can see that game on the NBC Sports Network. And that'll follow the third place game between the other two finishers. And again, I honestly haven't done the math or checked my work, but I believe if Real Salt Lake wins this game, they should be a
Seattle.
If Seattle wins the game, they should be a lock
they
for
are in the final, yeah.
Saturday's final. Aaron Mon battling with Ochoa there. Enzo Martinez trying to help out. Ochoa did well to win it again. Second one blasted long, and Lalo Fernandez scoops it up for Salt Lake. Viana's touch finds Sandoval running against Zavaleta, leaves it for Viana. Cross coming back to Sandoval, shot right at Josh Ford.
Nice play from Real Salt Lake. Good work from Sandoval to hold on to the ball, release Viana right at the right time.
Here's Remick on the left, under some pressure. Drops it off for Zavaleta. Plays it through for Ochoa. And cleared by Carlos Salcedo after a collision with Sodade, who's spent a lot of time on the ground today. I guess grass stains don't really show up on Rave Green, but he may have some. That one tackled out for a Salt Lake throw-in. 79th minute, Seattle leads Real Salt Lake 2-0. Goals from Mario Martinez of the spectacular variety and Philip Lund of the more mundane rebound variety. Both in the last 25 minutes of the game, giving Seattle the lead. And they have yet to give up a goal in the tournament.
I cannot imagine that Jason Kreis is very happy with the performance so far. You know, it's not, the result is irrelevant ultimately. But the performance, the inability to string a couple more passes together, not playing quickly, not moving, maybe even, the defending has been decent. The spacing on the defense has been decent, but They're not playing the way Jason Kreis always wants his teams to play, with short passes, moving that way, moving the ball quickly.
So it's not just the final third that worries you, it's the middle third as well.
Well, I think, even when all the starters were in, I think there was a little bit of a lack of cohesion in there. And then we saw it also by Alvarez bouncing around. Weren't really sure who was supposed to be in that role, in that position.
Yeah, the midfield was a bit experimental in terms of their positioning.
Now, to be totally fair, there's no Javier Morales out there.
No, Luis Gil isn't here.
Gil, exactly. So obviously some other options that will play massive roles in the midfield for this team.
Ochoa controls on his chest again. Salcedo stepping up on him. First touch for Balshin, who brings it back to Fernandez. Enzo Martinez playing that Beckerman deep lying role. Palmer forward into the stride of Viana, tries to turn. He thought he took a bump from Viana, and the officials look on, and it'll be a throw into the Sounders. Here's Zavaleta. Off the mark and into the Seattle bench. Field covered in shadows. Still a comfortable evening in Tucson. New York and New England coming up in the second game. We hope you'll join us for that, and we'll get scores from around the preseason action in MLS as the evening goes on. So Dade trying to hold off Salcedo, and it runs out. Waiting for the signal. It will be a corner for Seattle. Finals from today, Montreal and DC tied 1-1. Philadelphia beat Toronto 3-0. Chicago beat Houston 3-2. And again, last we heard, Columbus and Orlando were tied 1-1 in the second half. Mario Martinez on the corner kick, 82nd minute. And Swinger runs through everybody.
A couple of half chances there for Seattle, are not able to actually get ahead on it.
Josh Williams has scored for Columbus. They lead Orlando 2-1. Starts to feel like the season when you've got scores to update.
And an out-of-town scoreboard.
We just need a sponsor for it.
You keep wanting to say it's sponsored by somebody.
It's out of habit. Absolutely.
Yeah, well.
I can give you a few reads from.
I'll sponsor it. How's that? It's sponsored by me.
Kicking and screening?
Sure.
Sandoval, top of the box. Gonna let rip, and he missed it wide, but Greg Lawless will be pleased to see an RSL player pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
Here's a look back at the shot from Sandoval. Looked like Ford probably had it covered had it been on target. Now another long-range shot, and Josh Ford has to be alert to tip it wide.
Things happen when you shoot the ball.
David Viana letting it rip.
Nice shot.
Gets a corner.
A little bit of a dip on it, bounces right in front of Ford. Ford does well to get the tip to put it away, put it out of danger. But Viana at least just turning, looking, seeing an opportunity, seeing that chance, recognizing that if he gets the right, if he hits it right, it's going to cause problems for the goalkeeper. And he hit it right.
Cole Grossman to take the corner from the far side. Real Salt Lake down 2-0. Going back post, nobody there, headed away by Ochoa. Here's Viana, wants to hit it again. You could tell he had the confidence, but not the execution on this one. Jonathan Yardley, Greg Lawless with you from Tucson, Arizona, the Desert Diamond Cup, Day 2. 3 group games and 2 playoff games a week from tonight. We'll be back with you on Wednesday for Seattle against New York and Real Salt Lake against New England. Well, I'll be back with you. Jonah Friedman will join me. Both these teams start the season on the road. Seattle March 2nd at Philadelphia. And they'll play Tigres home and home in the Champions League quarterfinals. So the first chance to see the Sounders in Seattle will be March 12th. And then the home MLS opener March 16th against the Chicago Fire. Grossman's pass picked off. He was targeting Stevenson. Seattle controls at the back. Given away, though, Grossman, Enzo Martinez. Enzo Martinez to Sandoval. Rough touch with a man on his back. Rich Balshin won it. Wasn't sure which spot on the field he had won it to. Now advances forward and brings it backward to Viana. Has Palmer on the right. Uses him there against Kasky. Lavelle Palmer tries to get into the area. Poked away. Shot coming. Blocked by Fairclaw, and he clears it for Seattle.
But here's the interesting thing. That shot a couple of minutes ago from David Viana that caused some problems for Josh Ford, and all of a sudden Real Salt Lake have the momentum. They're the ones dictating play. They're the ones being proactive. That's where that idea, just a shot, a little bit of a half chance, going into the mental game of it. Now they all feel a little more confident, and they're moving the ball with more confidence.
Palmer's cross back post looking for Sandoval, and Josh Ford got a good hand to it to punch it away. And they got the throw in wrong. It should be a Salt Lake throw, and Alan Chapman signaled the wrong way, but both teams actually had it right, and so he just lets it play on. It was correct in the end. You don't see that very often. Usually if the referee signaled one way, he's going to make sure it's taken that way. Enzo Martinez pressured by Sammy Ochoa. Here's Sturzer in his own defensive side. Ahead to Sandoval with Sturzer running with him now. Going to shoot. It's blocked. Now everyone's ready to shoot from outside. Kari Stevenson wins it back. That shot's blocked. Falls to Sturzer. Pulls one back for Real Salt Lake. Bombs away from RSL, and it pays off. John Sturzer out of Maryland takes advantage of the deflection.
Remember the first half we talked about Watson Cirabo when he had that chance, that really glorious chance to maybe put his name on the score sheet. You're a young player trying to solidify your place in the team. Sturzer does it here when the ball falls kindly to him. It's Kari Stevenson with the shot that gets blocked, and Sturzer, right man in the right place, but it's the composure in front of the goal to put it away. That's the thing that we need to talk about most.
Goal scorer from midfielder in college with Maryland. Gets one here, 2-1. Can RSL pull a tie out of this game?
Technical staff for Real Salt Lake have nothing but good things to say about Sturzer. They really like what he's brought since he's been in camp.
Aaron Mond in his own half near the end line, able to keep that one in and get it away. And the throw-in should go Seattle's way, and it doesn't. Palmer to Sandoval, chests it down for Viana. Tries to play it back to him, covered by Zavaleta, who brings it backward to Josh Ford. 2 minutes plus to play in Tucson, with Seattle leading Real Salt Lake 2-1. These two teams have been inseparable head-to-head since Seattle came into the league. They've tied the season series all 4 years, and the all-time series is tied 4-4-5.
Including the playoffs.
Including playoff games. They're the most important ones, so we include them. Here's Viana trying to get it forward for Sandoval. Fairclaw is there and hooks it out of danger for the moment. It'll be a Salt Lake throw-in down the right field line.
Good idea. Again, about that confidence. It all stems from that one shot that Viana took.
Stevenson wide open, checking to the ball on the left-hand side. Cross comes in, header by Sturzer, off the mark, but not by much. All RSL over the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. Sturzer likes to get in the box, coming deep from the midfield. I think Jason Christ will be a little happier with the performance after this.
May give these guys the start on Wednesday.
Yeah, but then, from the Seattle side, Ziggy Schmidt, he's sitting on the bench, hands folded, not happy with the performance of his guys out there.
You don't see Ziggy smile all that often during a game. Here's Viana. Drops it all the way back to Enzo Martinez. He'll hit off the mark. Knocked away by Yedlin. Ochoa trying to do the work to hold it up for Seattle, but he was picked off by the combination of Mond and Palmer. 30 seconds to go by my watch. We haven't had any of an announcement of stoppage time, and I don't know that we need any. Viana on the right, leaves it for Palmer. Cross coming. Nobody at the back post. Sandoval was arriving at the near post. Falls to Balshin in the left corner. Battling with Kasky. Back to Kari Stevenson. Chips it in over everybody. Almost would have rather see him tee one up from there. And that may do it for RSL's comeback hopes. We're past 90 minutes now, but Alan Chapman letting us play for a bit more.
You know, this group is the group that started for Real Salt Lake
on Wednesday
against New York on Wednesday, and they showed very well, and they scored 2 very quick goals. I think that Jason Kreis will be happy. He's talked a lot about this week about having competition at every position on the field, and I think he'll be happy to look at the depth that he has.
He also said he had to do more coaching than he has to do most preseasons, and some of it's obviously paid off with this younger group producing.
I think Seattle, on the other hand, will look at what they did in the first 60 minutes or first half with their guys.
Viana feeds Palmer. Another chance to cross. It's blocked by Remick. Throw into Real Salt Lake. We were told 1 minute of stoppage time. We've almost had it now. Throw into the box. Knocked away by Seattle. Mario Martinez plays out of trouble with Ochoa. And there's the full-time whistle. Seattle was pressured in the end, but gets the better of Real Salt Lake again. Mario Martinez, the difference maker again. And Seattle wins it 2-1. The Sounders will play in the final of the Desert Diamond Cup on Saturday night. I mean, we've just been talking about what Ziggy Schmid and Jason Kreis will take away from this. But obviously, Seattle does get the results. They're never the most important thing in preseason. But what did stand out to you?
Well, I think for Seattle, it's just the consistency that they put that team out there and they did what they needed to do. They got the goals they needed to get the victory. I think from a Real Salt Lake standpoint, I think it's about heart. It's about having that mentality to say we need to come back and try and get the result if we can. I think Jason Kreis will be very happy with the show of his depth. Joao Plata showed that he can play pretty well alongside Saborejo. Going back to Seattle, a little bit of some of the things. Mario Martinez looks like he is ready to go, and he's going to be a beast come 2013 season when that starts March 2nd, March 3rd for these teams.
We'll take a look back at some of the key plays from today, and Mario Martinez kicked this one into life. Check this out. Outside of the left foot, bending back inside the right side netting. I mean, look at the bench explode. That was classy goal to put Seattle up 1-0, and then they get the second. Osvaldo Alonso makes the run into the box, fires a shot that Nick Raimondo saves. Philip Lund, Danish trialist, on hand to knock it in. And Real Salt Lake able to pull one back. Kari Stevenson shot from outside the box deflects right to John Sturzer. Good composure, buries it in the left corner. RSL got to within 2-1. Sturzer then had a header that was maybe their best chance to tie it, but Seattle comes away with the 2-1 win. That's going to do it for our first game today. Greg and I will be back with coverage of the second game between New York and New England. We expect kickoff in about 20 to 25 minutes. Stay tuned to MLSsoccer.com for coverage of the entire preseason and again of our second game, New York and New England, coming up next. For our entire crew, from my partner Greg Lawless, I'm Jonathan Yardley. We'll take a break from Tucson, Seattle 2, Real Salt Lake 1. Hope to see you in about half an hour for New York, New England. Seattle wins it, they're into the final.